I'm Kyle, and this is 30 Minutes Plus 2. Welcome to another exciting edition of 30 Minutes Plus 2. My name's Kyle, of course, and last night marked the beginning of the 2017 Supercross season. It was a great night, although it wasn't very exciting. Often A1 isn't exciting. The track is usually tamed down, but the rain did hold off, which made for nice Supercross racing, at least for me. I know some of you guys like mud races, but for me that's more of an outdoor thing. I don't particularly care for that in Supercross. But it was a good night all around. Pretty much everybody walked away injury-free. Michael Lessie did have a hard get-off. I'm not entirely sure what's happening with him. But other than that, pretty much everybody else came away injury-free. Roczen, of course, stole the whole shot, and Roczen did much better than I thought he was going to do. I talked to a few people, and pretty much everyone I talked to had Roczen picked as their winner. Personally, I had picked Tomac. Tomac did not have a fantastic night. He had a great start. He started in second place, but ultimately around halfway through the race, Ryan Dungey made the pass on him, and he started going backwards. Never a good sign. Hopefully he can keep his chin up. It is the first race of a long season. As Dungey likes to say, there's a lot of racing still to go, and he can always dig out of this. He doesn't exactly have a deep hole to get out of. He's only in 5th place in the points right now, so not really much work he's going to have to do. Roczen, of course, stole the show. Roczen got the whole shot and never looked back. He looked great. He never looked out of control. Watching Roczen in the past, he's always looked fast, but he's also looked like he's a little bit on the edge. Last night, Roczen just looked great. He looked like he was in total control, and he was just racing hard. He looked fantastic. There was no misstep that he could have made. Dungey was the same Dungey that he always is. Dungey got a decent start. He didn't have a great start, but he just sort of went to work. He put his head down and started making passes. Again, I would have brought you some highlights from some of these, but there really wasn't anything exciting that happened. Dungey just quietly made his way around the track. Roczen quietly made his way to a pretty large lead. I think he ended up winning somewhere in the neighborhood about 13 seconds in front of Dungey, so that was pretty good for Roczen. Had a strong night. Marvin Musquin had a very strong night last night, too. I was talking to somebody, and they were telling me that Musquin was their pick to win. And what I told them was I would not be at all surprised if he won, but he wasn't my guy. I kind of said the same thing about Roczen. He wasn't my pick just because I thought he might have a feeling out process to go through on that Honda. It's not that I didn't think he could win. I certainly knew he could. I just didn't think he would. I guess he showed me wrong because he dominated. He did very, very well last night. A few of the guys that you might have expected to pick between, say, 5th and 10th ended up in about 5th and 10th. Jason Anderson had a good night. He almost did top 5. He had a pretty good night going. Seeley was looking good, but it's hard to tell because Seeley, as he finished in a 6th, but he probably could have made that 5th. If he'd had one more lap to go, I think he could have beaten Tomac. And it's hard to know for sure if what we saw was Seeley coming on strong or if it was Tomac just going backwards, because we saw Tomac, he had about 10 minutes in him, and that was about it. It almost looked like he had trained for Monster Cup and not for Supercross. So that's going to be interesting to see how that goes on through the rest of the season. It's a long season, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be nice to see where everybody ultimately ends up. I'd like to see a little more fight out of some of these guys. The nice thing about A1 is that everybody is pretty much there. Of course, Barcia was not because of his broken wrist. Jake Weimer did pretty well as a fill-in. To be honest with you, I lost him in the main. I'm not even entirely sure where he finished, but he had a good night. So I'm really looking forward to these guys starting to get comfortable with the season. I think that's kind of where we're at right now. Is these guys didn't really fight hard because it's A1, and I think everybody is living by that old adage of you can't win the championship at A1, but you can lose it. So hopefully, as the weeks go on and we get a little bit deeper into the long slog of the season, some of these guys are going to show up and they're going to be ready to fight. Unfortunately, I don't really see a whole lot of fight out of Dungey. I feel like Dungey is probably the guy who feels like he's won this a few times. He knows what it's going to take to win. And I think he's just going to play the consistency game. I'm really looking forward to see Roczen have to fight back from some bad starts. Let's see how he does. Like I said before, I always knew, and I still believe, Roczen can do it. The question is, will Roczen do it? That's going to be the major question. That's going to be what I'm going to be looking for. Because we've seen Roczen throw it away in outdoors and in Supercross towards the end of the season. We've also seen him seal the deal in Supercross and in outdoors. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see how he manages an entire season. Again, he can do it. The question is, will he do it? I'm sure that Honda is shelling out big dollars for him to bring it home, and I'm hoping that they can kind of cobble together a team that can tell him how to do it. It's been nearly 15 years since they've won one of these. So hopefully they remember how to do it. Hopefully they can give him what he needs to win. By that same token, I'm hoping that Tomac can do it. I'd really like to see Tomac take that championship home. I feel like Tomac has put in the effort in the offseason. It's just a matter of, can he do it on the racetrack? So I'm really keeping my eyes on him. Dungey, like I said, he's going to be Dungey all year. I like Dungey, and I'd like to see him win another one. But I feel like I know what I'm going to get with Dungey. He is a known quantity for sure. So it's going to be interesting to see how some of this plays out. Not a whole lot of team changes this year. So I was kind of watching Bogle. I was kind of watching Weimer, but I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention to that. The big story, I guess, here is going to be Cooper Webb. Cooper Webb had, I would say, a fair night. I think a lot of people put a lot of expectations on Cooper Webb that were maybe unfair for him. It is his first race on a 450. I think he did okay. He got a mid-pack start, and he pretty much held it. When I was watching him last night, it really looked like he was riding his motorcycle and not racing his motorcycle. But if that's what he needs to do to get a feel for the competition and get a feel for how his bike's going to act on the track, then I'd say he walked away. He had a good night. Sometimes that's the best you can hope for. I think I think he's battling with a lot of unfair expectations that he has on him. So it's going to be interesting to see how he manages those expectations, mostly from himself, I'm sure. If he's anything like me, he's going to be the hardest critic on himself. So let's just kind of see how that plays out, and we'll see you next week in San Diego. Well, thanks for coming back. Like I said, I know it was a long autumn, long fall, and I'm hoping to have at least one of these out every week. You might have noticed I didn't even bother to touch on the 250s. I'm going to rewatch the race. I'm having some difficulty getting into the 250s this year. I'll keep my eyes open, and I might post a video a little bit later. But right now, trying to make these videos, I'm trying to get into it, and I'm trying to limit my focus to really just one of the classes at this point. As I get a little more comfortable making these videos, maybe I'll go ahead and expand. We'll see. I have a little bit of work to do in terms of production quality with these videos, obviously. I was going to have some highlights. I decided not to, again, because there wasn't really anything super exciting to show you anyway. And two, I'm having some difficulty with, again, the production quality. The video quality just isn't really where I'd like it to be quite yet. So look for that in the future. I'm also thinking about maybe I'll just run a highlight reel and I'll just voice over the entire thing. So stay tuned for that. Please leave me your comments. Let me know what you think. Like and share. Please help me make this better. I know you guys are watching it and I'm making it, and so I want it to be good. I'm sure you want it to be good. So please let me know. Anyway, like I said, we'll see you next week in San Diego.